Smoke rose from the wrecked human escape pod, its metal twisted and scorched by fire. Lying half-buried in the purple sand of the alien desert, the air shimmered with heat, and the sound of distant thunder rolled across the wide plains. Inside the pod, a man groaned softly. His name was Eli, the only survivor of a human cargo ship that had been torn apart by a meteor storm. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the bright light. His suit was damaged, his communicator broken, and his leg throbbed in pain. He tried to stand, but his strength was almost gone. The world around him was strange. 2 suns hung in the sky, and tall crystal trees shimmered like glass. Eli felt dizzy and weak. He had no food, no water, and no idea where he was. A shadow moved in the distance. Eli squinted, thinking it was a trick of the light. But the shape grew clearer. Someone was walking toward him. The figure was small, slim, and covered in faint blue markings that glowed softly under the twin suns. She had long white hair that fluttered in the wind and wide, glowing eyes that seemed full of both fear and curiosity. She wasn't human. She was an alien girl. The girl stopped a few meters away, clutching a spear made of bone and crystal. She looked young, maybe his age in human years, but her face was delicate, almost otherworldly. She tilted her head, studying him, her lips moving as if whispering something to herself. Then slowly she lowered her spear and stepped closer. Eli tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. "Help," he whispered weakly. The alien girl knelt beside him, her fingers brushing his cheek. Her skin felt cool, smooth, and faintly luminescent. She spoke in a soft musical voice, her words strange but soothing. Eli didn't understand, but somehow he felt calm. She looked at his damaged leg and frowned. Her glowing eyes traced the swelling around his thigh where the crash debris had struck. The girl reached for a small pouch hanging from her waist. From it, she took a handful of green paste made from crushed herbs and began spreading it over the injured area. Eli winced at first, but then felt a wave of relief. The pain dulled. The alien's touch was gentle, careful, but then her hand hesitated. She noticed something beneath the torn fabric of his suit that made her eyes widen. There was a strange swelling between his legs. She looked at it curiously, then back at his face. Her people had never seen humans before. She thought it was a wound, something dangerous that might cause infection. Without hesitation, she started rubbing the area gently, trying to help the swelling go down. Eli's eyes shot open in confusion and shock. "Wait, no, stop," he gasped. The alien girl jumped back, startled, her glowing hair swaying in the warm wind. She didn't understand his words, but she saw the panic in his eyes and froze. For a moment, they stared at each other, 2 beings from different worlds, unable to speak the same language. Trapped in the middle of nowhere, she pointed at the swelling and spoke quickly in her language as if asking what was wrong. Eli blushed, shaking his head. "It's not an injury," he tried to explain, his voice weak but urgent. She tilted her head again, puzzled. Then slowly a small smile curved her lips as if realizing her mistake. Her cheeks glowed faintly blue, a blush in her kind. Eli sighed in relief, trying to laugh despite the pain. The girl covered her mouth, hiding her own nervous giggle. The tension faded between them. She stood and offered him her hand, helping him up. He leaned against her slender frame, surprised by her strength. Together, they began walking away from the wreckage. The girl pointed toward the horizon, where strange floating stones hovered over what looked like a forest of glowing vines. She spoke a word, maybe her village's name. Eli nodded, trusting her. As they walked, the suns began to set, painting the sky with gold and violet. Behind them, the wrecked escape pod burned quietly, sending a thin column of smoke into the alien sky. In front of them, something waited. Civilization, maybe safety, or maybe something far more dangerous. Eli glanced at the girl walking beside him. Her silver hair shimmered in the fading light, and her eyes glowed softly, watching him with quiet curiosity. He didn't know what fate had brought her to him, but deep inside he felt this meeting was no accident. Something about her felt important. Something that would change both their worlds. And as night began to fall on that strange planet, the first spark of connection between human and alien flickered to life. Fragile, unexpected, but full of meaning. Would she help him survive? Or was she leading him into something far greater than he could ever imagine? Eli woke to the soft hum of alien insects, their wings glowing faintly in the darkness, creating shifting blue and green lights above his head. He blinked, Confused, then realized he was lying inside a small hut made of crystal vines and woven leaves that shimmered faintly with every movement. His leg felt lighter, bandaged with shining strips that pulsed gently, almost alive. The alien girl from before sat beside him, watching quietly. Her glowing eyes softened when she saw him awake. She smiled, showing small white teeth, and spoke something in her language, her voice melodic, calm. Eli couldn't understand, but he nodded anyway, smiling weakly. When she saw him sit up, she offered him a strange fruit, bright green, shaped like a teardrop. Eli hesitated, sniffing it. Smelled like lemon mixed with honey. He took a cautious bite and felt cool sweetness flood his mouth. He was starving, so he ate eagerly. She laughed softly, happy to see him eat. As he finished, he tried to thank her. "Thank you," he said, pressing his hand to his chest. She tilted her head, then copied the motion with her own hand on her chest. "Thank you," she tried to mimic. Her accent was soft but adorable. Eli chuckled, and the girl's eyes brightened with joy. Moments later, the curtain of vines covering the hut entrance shifted, and a shadow appeared. Another alien, taller, older, with glowing tattoos down his arms, entered, followed by two others carrying crystal staffs. They looked cautious. The girl stood quickly, speaking rapidly in her tongue, pointing toward Eli and then at his leg. The elder alien studied Eli for a long moment, his expression unreadable. He stepped closer, kneeling, and placed one glowing hand above Eli's heart. The touch was strange, almost electric. Eli froze, unsure if this was kindness or something else. The elder's eyes widened slightly as if surprised, and he said something that made the others murmur in confusion. The girl looked between them nervously. The elder finally stood, nodding once. He left without a word, leaving the two guards behind. Eli exhaled, confused and uneasy. "What was that about?" he muttered. The girl didn't answer. She simply sat back beside him, watching the door with a thoughtful expression. Later that night, when the second moon rose, she took his hand and gestured for him to follow. Limping slightly, he followed her outside. The village around them was breathtaking. Dozens of crystal huts formed circles around a glowing lake that shimmered like liquid light. The alien villagers watched from a distance, whispering to each other as Eli passed. Some seemed afraid. Others seemed curious. The girl led him to the edge of the lake and pointed to the water. He looked down and saw something unbelievable. The surface reflected not only their faces, but also lines of light running through his body, like faint threads of energy. "What is that?" he whispered. The girl spoke softly, tracing one glowing line on his arm with her finger. Then she pointed to her own chest, showing him she had similar light veins, but dimmer. It was as if his presence made her glow brighter. Eli realized the elder must have sensed that too, some strange energy connection between them. Maybe something in human biology reacted to whatever life force flowed through these aliens. Or maybe it was something deeper, something spiritual. The girl looked at him and said a word he couldn't understand, but the tone was clear. It sounded like a name. She pressed her hand on her heart, then pointed to herself. "Lyra," she said. Then she pointed at him, tilting her head curiously. "Eli," he said. Please, she repeated carefully, smiling again. For the first time since the crash, Eli felt a strange peace. Despite being on a world far from home, surrounded by beings he didn't understand, he felt safe with Lyra. But as they stood by the glowing lake, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them. The water rippled violently, and the crystal huts began to hum with low resonance. Lyra's smile vanished. She looked up toward the dark cliffs beyond the village, fear flashing in her eyes. From the shadows, massive shapes began to move. Dark beasts, their eyes burning red, emerging from the mist. The villagers screamed, rushing to hide or grab weapons. Lyra grabbed Eli's arm, trying to pull him back toward the hut. But before they could move, one of the creatures leaped forward, landing near the lake. Its claws dug deep into the sand, and it let out a roar that made the air vibrate. Eli's heart raced. He stumbled back, no weapon, no strength to fight. The guards rushed forward, their staffs glowing bright as lightning crackled between them. But the creature swiped one aside like paper, roaring again. Lyra stood frozen, her body trembling. Then suddenly the markings on her skin flared bright blue, brighter than before. She looked shocked at her own light. Everyone stared, so did Eli. The creature lunged toward her, but something happened. A flash of blinding energy burst from Lyra's hands, striking the monster midair. It shrieked, collapsing instantly, its body turning to ash. The whole village fell silent. Lyra looked at her hands in disbelief. Eli stepped forward slowly, whispering, "Lyra, what are you?" She turned toward him, her eyes glowing like twin stars, her voice trembling. "Eli, light." And before he could speak again, the elder's voice echoed from behind them, half in warning, half in awe. "She has awakened." The night burned with blue fire, the air thick with energy that hummed through every crystal in the alien village. The ground still smoked where the beast had fallen. The villagers stayed frozen, staring at Lyra, their glowing eyes filled with fear and wonder. Lyra stood shaking, her hands still faintly glowing. She didn't understand what had happened. Her people had legends of the light within, a power said to belong only to the old gods long gone from their world. No one alive had ever shown it, but now she had, and everyone saw. The elder stepped closer, his voice low and trembling. "It is true," he said in his language, his eyes wide. "The human has awakened her light." Eli stood confused. "What's happening?" "What did she do?" he asked. Lyra looked at him, her expression torn between fear and something like guilt. She reached out her hand toward him, but the elder blocked her path with his staff, its tip glowing. "Stay back, child," he said sharply. Then he pointed the staff at Eli. The guard stepped closer, surrounding him. Eli raised his hands, confused and scared. "Wait, I didn't do anything," he shouted, limping backward. The elder's voice rose. "You brought the power of the old world. You are the key or the curse." Lyra ran forward, placing herself between Eli and the guards. She shouted something fierce and desperate in her language. The elder's eyes softened, but he didn't lower his staff. The air was tense, silent except for the hum of the crystals. Finally, the elder turned away. "He will stay under watch," he said. "If his presence harms us, he must be removed." "Removed," Eli repeated, realizing what that meant. His heart sank. Lyra turned to him, her eyes full of worry. She spoke softly, her hand brushing his arm. "Safe," she said in broken English. Keep safe." Eli looked into her eyes and nodded slowly. He trusted her, even though everything else in this world was against him. Later that night, the village lights dimmed. Everyone went inside their huts. Lyra led Eli to a hidden path behind the glowing lake, deep into a forest of crystal trees. The air there was calm, filled with floating lights like fireflies. She motioned for him to sit beside a stone that pulsed faintly with light. Then she pressed her palms against the stone, whispering in her language. The stone responded, glowing brighter. A wave of energy rippled outward, surrounding them like a soft barrier. Eli could feel it. It was warm, peaceful, almost alive. She looked at him and touched her chest. "Lyra, not power before," she said slowly. When Eli, "Come, power wake," Eli frowned. "So my being here somehow triggered your power?" She nodded, her eyes serious. "Yes, light from you. You bring light." Eli looked down at his hands, then at the glowing lines he had seen in the lake's reflection. Could there be some connection between human biology and whatever energy this planet held? Or was it something deeper, something written in destiny? Before he could think more, a loud rumble shook the forest. Lyra gasped, standing quickly. "They come," she whispered. From the trees emerged more of the red-eyed beasts, larger this time, their bodies covered in black scales that shimmered like metal. They surrounded the clearing, growling low. Eli's blood ran cold. "We have to run," he shouted. But Lyra didn't move. She stood tall, her hands trembling but glowing brighter. "Lyra, no." "You'll die," he yelled. She turned her head slightly, smiling sadly. "Light, protect!" Then the beast charged. Lyra raised her hands and a wave of blinding blue light erupted from her body. The ground cracked and the creatures were thrown back with screams that echoed into the night. Eli shielded his eyes. The light grew stronger until everything went white. When it faded, silence fell again. The beasts were gone. Ashes scattered across the glowing grass. Lyra fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Her glow faded slowly. Eli rushed to her side, holding her shoulders. "Hey, Lyra! Stay with me!" Her eyes opened weakly, shimmering with fading light. "Eli, hurt?" she whispered. He shook his head. "No, I'm fine. You saved me. Again." She smiled faintly, her breathing slowing. "Good. Eli safe." He looked at her glowing veins fading under her skin, fear filling his chest. "You can't keep doing this, Lyra. It's killing you." But she just closed her eyes, whispering softly, "Light protect all." Eli sat there holding her as the forest grew quiet again. Above them, the twin moons shone down through the crystal leaves, bathing them in silver light. He realized then that whatever connected them was beyond science. It was something alive, something powerful. In the distance, faint sounds of horns echoed, the village guards searching. But among them another sound followed, a deep mechanical hum. Eli's eyes widened. He knew that sound. It wasn't from this world. A ship, a human ship. He stood, heart pounding. Were they here to rescue him? Or were they here for something else? He looked down at Lyra, sleeping weakly in his arms, and felt a storm rise in his heart. If the humans found her glowing like that, they would take her. They would study her. Maybe even kill her, and Eli knew one thing. He couldn't let that happen, not to her. Not after she saved him twice. The forest glowed faintly under the twin moons when Eli heard the hum grow louder, breaking the still calm. He looked up through the crystal branches and saw a light cutting across the alien sky, white, cold, and mechanical. His heart jumped. That was no alien light. It was human. "Lyra," he whispered, shaking her shoulder gently. "Lyra, wake up. Someone's coming." She stirred, weakly opening her glowing eyes. Her body was pale and tired from using so much energy. When she saw the light above the forest, she tensed. "Danger?" she asked softly. Eli didn't know how to answer. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe not." The sound grew louder until it became a roar of engines. Then the trees bent slightly from the wind as a human rescue shuttle descended, its landing thrusters shaking the ground. Dust and light filled the air. Eli raised his arm to shield his face while Lyra backed away, her eyes wide with fear. When the engines powered down, a side hatch opened, and several humans in armored suits stepped out. Their helmets gleamed and blue visors hid their faces. One of them, taller and carrying a rifle, looked straight at Eli and shouted through his helmet speaker, "Human survivor located. Secure the area." Eli's knees almost gave out. "They found me," he whispered. Relief washed over him, but it didn't last, because the soldiers' eyes had already shifted to Lyra. Their weapons turned toward her. "Wait," Eli shouted, limping forward, spreading his arms protectively. "She's not a threat." "Identify the alien life form," barked the officer. "Is it hostile?" "No," Eli yelled. "She saved my life. She's not dangerous." But the soldiers didn't lower their guns. Lyra stepped back, frightened, her glowing skin making her an easy target. The soldiers murmured to each other through their comms. One raised a scanner. "Sir, reading unstable energy signatures. Unknown biological charge detected. Contain her," the officer ordered coldly. Before Eli could react, two soldiers shot out metallic nets that glowed with electric threads. The nets wrapped around Lyra, sending jolts of energy through her body. She screamed, a sound that tore through the quiet forest. "Stop it," Eli yelled, running forward, but one of the soldiers grabbed him, holding him back. "You don't understand." "You're hurting her. She's emitting dangerous radiation," the officer said. "We can't take chances. Orders from command are clear. Any alien entity showing energy resonance must be contained for research." "Research?" Eli repeated, horrified. "She's not some lab sample." Lyra fell to her knees, the net glowing bright around her. Tears shone in her eyes as she looked at Eli. "Eli, help," she whispered weakly. Rage exploded inside him. He tore away from the soldier holding him and stumbled to the officer. "You can't take her." "She saved me." "She's not a weapon," the officer glared through his visor. "She's an unknown. We decide what she is. You've been isolated too long, survivor. Step back before we restrain you too." Eli froze. He realized now he wasn't being rescued. He was being controlled. As the soldiers dragged Lyra toward the ship, she struggled weakly, her skin flickering between dim light and shadow. The net crackled again and she cried out. Something deep in Eli's chest snapped. "Let her go," he shouted and threw himself forward, slamming into the officer. The soldier stumbled and Eli grabbed the net's power pack, yanking it free. The electric field around Lyra fizzled and died. She fell forward, gasping for air. The soldiers turned their rifles toward Eli. "Stand down," the officer shouted. But Lyra raised her head, her eyes now glowing brighter than before. A wave of blue light rippled out from her body, pushing the soldiers back like a shockwave. Their weapons sparked and died. She rose slowly, the glow around her growing more intense with each breath. "No hurt, Eli," she said firmly, her voice echoing like thunder through the trees. Eli stared in awe. She was radiant, her markings pulsing with living light. The officer tried to speak, but his communicator fizzled. The air around them hummed, heavy with power. Then in a flash of energy, all the soldiers were thrown backward. Their armor smoked, their weapons melted. The rescue shuttle's systems shorted, lights flickering before dying completely. Silence followed. The only sound was the crackle of the forest crystals, slowly calming after the burst. Lyra collapsed again, her glow fading. Eli rushed to her, holding her in his arms. "You saved me." "Again," he whispered. She smiled faintly, her hand touching his cheek. "Light protect," she said softly. He looked at her, realizing she couldn't keep doing this. Each use of her power drained her more and more. She wasn't just saving him, she was dying for him. Eli looked back at the soldiers lying unconscious. If Command found out what happened here, they would send more ships, bigger ones, stronger ones. They would come for her. He looked up at the sky where the stars shimmered faintly between the twin moons. "We have to go," he whispered. "We can't stay here." He lifted Lyra gently, cradling her against his chest despite his injured leg. Step by step, he began walking deeper into the glowing forest, away from the broken shuttle and the unconscious soldiers. Somewhere far away, a signal was already being sent back to the human fleet. It said, "Human survivor found. Alien entity of extreme power detected. Possible threat." But for Eli, one truth had already taken root. If saving Lyra meant betraying his own kind, then so be it. He had already made his choice. The twin moons dipped low, painting silver streaks across the alien forest as Eli moved through the glowing mist, carrying Lyra in his arms. Each step hurt. His leg ached, his lungs burned, but he didn't stop. Behind them, distant thunder rolled. Not from storms, but from engines. The humans were already coming. Lyra's breathing was shallow. Her glow had faded to a faint shimmer like a dying ember. Eli looked down at her pale face and whispered, "Hold on, Lyra. I'll keep you safe." The forest began to change around them. The trees grew taller, their crystal trunks pulsing with strange rhythm, almost as if alive. The deeper he went, the brighter the air became. It wasn't sunlight. It was energy, ancient and unseen, whispering through the vines. Finally, he stumbled upon a hidden valley, surrounded by floating stones and waterfalls that shimmered like liquid glass. The ground pulsed under his boots. It felt sacred. He gently laid Lyra down near a pool of glowing water. Her eyes fluttered open weakly. "Eli," she whispered, her voice trembling. "No safe. Humans come." He brushed her hair away from her face. "I know," he said softly. "But I won't let them hurt you again." A faint sound echoed through the valley. Voices mechanical and distant. He turned, heart racing. Through the fog, he saw blue lights approaching. Human drones, search units. They moved silently, scanning the trees, their lenses glowing red. Eli hid behind a crystal boulder, pulling Lyra close. The drones hovered above the valley, scanning the ground. One paused, beeping softly as its sensors picked up heat signatures. "Damn it," Eli whispered. Before he could move, Lyra placed her trembling hand on his chest. Her fingers glowed faintly. "Eli, no fear," she whispered. Then she closed her eyes and touched the ground. The valley responded instantly. The crystals brightened, pulsing faster. The water rippled with blue fire. A gentle wave of energy rolled outward, passing through the drones. One by one, their lights flickered and went dark, falling silently into the mist. Eli stared in disbelief. You can control this place?" She shook her head weakly. "No place knows me." He looked around, realizing what she meant. This wasn't just a forest, it was alive. The energy here was connected to her somehow. It felt ancient, protective, like it had been waiting for her. But before he could ask more, a flash of light erupted in the sky. A human dropship descended through the clouds, its searchlights cutting across the trees. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready. Eli's heart sank. There was no time left. He lifted Lyra again, but she shook her head. "No run," she whispered. "Hide." She pressed her glowing hand against his chest, and in an instant his body shimmered and vanished. He looked down, he couldn't see himself. He was invisible. Lyra gave a faint smile. "Light hide you." Then she pushed herself weakly to her feet, stepping into the open valley as the soldiers surrounded her. Target located. One of them shouted. Do not engage directly. Maintain distance. Eli wanted to scream, but his voice caught in his throat. He couldn't move. Couldn't risk revealing himself. He could only watch as they pointed their weapons at her. The lead officer raised his communicator. Command, this is Alpha Team. We've got the alien entity. Human survivor unconfirmed. Requesting permission to extract. Lyra stood silently, her white hair glowing faintly under the lights. No hurt, she said softly. Go. Stay where you are. The officer barked. The soldier fired a tranquilizer dart. It hit her shoulder. She staggered, her body trembling. The glow around her flickered, then flared bright again. The officer cursed. Contain her now. Eli clenched his fists. He wanted to run out to fight, but her voice echoed in his head. No fear. Hide. Her power burst suddenly, a silent wave of light sweeping through the valley. The soldiers screamed as their weapons melted in their hands. The ship's engines failed, falling into the water below with a deafening crash. But when the light faded, Lyra collapsed. Eli's invisibility broke and he ran to her. Lyra, please wake up, he begged, holding her tightly. Her skin was cold now, her glow almost gone. Eli, light, fading, she whispered weakly. No, he said fiercely. You're not fading. You're strong. You saved me, you saved them. You're not dying here, she smiled faintly. Light not die. It move. Before he could ask what she meant, she placed her hand over his heart again. A pulse of warmth spread through him, deep and powerful. He gasped, feeling her energy flow into him. The glowing lines appeared under his skin again, brighter than ever before. Lyra, stop, she shook her head gently. Light need new heart, she whispered, her voice fading like wind. Eli, heart strong, then her eyes closed. Her glow faded completely. Eli froze, tears welling in his eyes. No, Lyra, please don't do this. The valley grew still. The air went silent, but then something stirred. The crystals around them began to glow again, one by one. The light spread, moving through the ground, through the trees, through Eli. He could feel it, her presence inside him. She was gone. But not lost. Her light had become part of him. He stood slowly, the glow spreading through his veins like liquid fire. His pain vanished. His wounds healed. He looked up at the destroyed ship, then at the soldiers crawling away in fear. The officer stared at him in horror. What are you? Eli's eyes glowed blue now, the same as Lyra's once had. He looked down at his hands, still trembling, then met the officer's gaze. I'm human, he said quietly, and she gave me her light. The ground pulsed beneath his feet, and the valley erupted in a bright storm of energy that reached for the sky, like a beacon. But was it a warning? Or a rebirth? The valley burned like a living sunrise, blue and white energy rippling across every surface. Eli stood in the center, his body glowing faintly, the same way Lyra once had. Around him, the human soldiers stumbled back in terror, their visors reflecting the impossible light. Command, this is Alpha Team. One of them screamed into the comm. The alien's energy, it's inside the human. Repeat, human is emitting alien energy. Static crackled. Then silence. Eli looked down at his hands. Veins of light ran beneath his skin, pulsing like a heartbeat. The same gentle warmth Lyra used to carry now flowed through him, steady and alive. But it wasn't just warmth, it was a presence. He could feel her. Lyra, he whispered. Inside his mind, a faint voice answered. Eli. Safe? He froze. It was her voice, soft, distant like a whisper carried by wind. Lyra, he breathed, his heart racing. You're alive, light. Live in you now, she said gently. We won. He felt tears sting his eyes. You didn't die. You became part of me. But his moment of awe broke when the sound of more engines filled the sky. Above the glowing valley, 3 larger human ships descended, their spotlights piercing through the mist. Command had sent reinforcements. Target locked, one of the pilots shouted over comms. Human life form detected with anomalous readings. Proceed with containment protocol. Eli clenched his fists. They'll never stop, will they? They fear what they do not know. Lyra's voice replied inside his thoughts. You show them truth. He glanced at the soldiers retreating toward their ships. His body glowed brighter as Lyra's energy surged within him. He didn't feel weak anymore. He didn't feel human or alien. He felt like something entirely new. The first ship fired a containment net, but as it reached him, the energy dissolved in midair. Eli raised his hand instinctively and a shield of blue light formed around him, shimmering like glass. The humans opened fire, but every bullet melted before touching him. One soldier shouted, "He's a weapon! Take him down!" Eli's eyes burned brighter. "I'm not a weapon," he said softly. "I'm a promise." The ground shook as his power surged outward. Trees lit up, crystals hummed, and the valley's energy burst into a storm of light. The ships above crackled, their systems failing one by one. Engines roared, alarms screamed, and the humans fled in panic as lightning-like streams of energy cut through the air. When the storm finally faded, silence filled the valley once again. The ships were gone, some crashed, others limping back toward orbit. Eli stood alone amid the glowing ruins. His breath came slowly, controlled. Inside, Lyra's voice was quiet. "You strong, Eli," she whispered. "You saved many now." He knelt beside the glowing pool where she had once given him her power. "You saved me first," he said. "Now it's my turn. Danger not gone," she warned softly. "Others come. They fear the light," he nodded. "Then I'll give them a reason to respect it." He started walking through the glowing forest. Each step he took, the ground responded. Flowers opened, crystals brightened. The life around him was drawn to the light inside him, as if recognizing it. As dawn broke across the twin suns, Eli reached the edge of the valley and saw the alien village in the distance, the same one that had once feared Lyra. He hesitated, remembering the elder's words, "You are the key or the curse." He walked forward. The villagers saw him coming, his glow shining through the mist. Panic rippled through the crowd. Some dropped to their knees, others raised weapons. The elder stepped forward, his staff trembling in his hands. "What are you, human?" he demanded. "Why do you carry her light?" Eli stopped a few steps away, his expression calm but firm. "Because she trusted me with it," he said. "She wanted peace between us. Not war," the elder frowned. "You expect us to believe that the light chose a human?" Eli lifted his hand. The blue glow pulsed brighter, forming a soft wave that passed over the villagers. It didn't burn, it healed. Their fear faded. Their wounds from the earlier beast attacks closed. The elder gasped as his old scars disappeared. "Believe what you see," Eli said softly. A hush fell across the village. Then slowly the elder lowered his staff and knelt. One by one the villagers followed, their glowing eyes reflecting reverence and awe. Lyra's voice whispered gently in Eli's mind. "They see light again. They remember hope." Eli looked toward the horizon where faint smoke still rose from the human ships. "But the humans won't stop," he said grimly. "They'll come again. They'll hunt both of us. Then we show them we not curse," Lyra said, her voice steadier now. "We show them what light can be." Eli smiled faintly. "Then let's do it together." He raised his gaze to the twin suns climbing higher in the sky. Somewhere above, the human fleet was surely preparing another mission, labeling him as a threat. But down here, among crystal trees and alien hearts that now saw him not as a monster, but as a miracle, he felt something deeper than fear. He felt purpose, the first human to carry alien light, and perhaps the bridge between two worlds. And though the warships would soon descend again, Eli knew one thing clearly: he wouldn't run this time. He would rise. The twin suns rose over a world divided by fear and fire. In the distance, the horizon glowed red, not from dawn but from the burning remains of ships that had fallen the night before. Above the clouds, the human fleet hung like dark stars, their weapons locked on the planet below. They called it a containment mission, but to Eli, it looked like war. He stood on the cliffs above the glowing valley, his body surrounded by a faint halo of light. Lyra's presence was still with him, soft, calm, whispering through his thoughts. "They come again," she said quietly. "This time not to save, but to control." Eli clenched his fist. "Then we show them the truth," he murmured. Behind him, the alien villagers gathered, their crystal armor glimmering under the rising suns. The elder stepped forward, his glowing staff in hand. "They will destroy us all," he said grimly. "Your people do not come to talk, they come to erase what they fear." Eli turned toward him. "Then we don't meet them with fear. We meet them with light," the elder frowned. "Light cannot stop bullets." Eli's gaze hardened. "Maybe not their bullets, but it can stop their hate." A low rumble echoed overhead as drop pods broke through the clouds. Dozens of human soldiers descended, landing across the valley in waves of smoke and fire. The humans marched forward in formation, weapons drawn, visors reflecting the twin suns. Their commander's voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Attention, unidentified life forms. You are harboring a human infected with alien energy. Stand down or be terminated." The alien warriors tensed, readying their crystal spears. But Eli raised a glowing hand. "No fighting," he said firmly. "No killing. I'll go." The elder's eyes widened. "They will not listen. Then I'll make them," Eli said simply. He stepped forward, his glow brightening with each step. The humans raised their rifles. "Stay where you are," the commander barked. "One more step and we open fire." Eli kept walking. "I'm not your enemy," he called out, his voice calm but echoing across the valley. "You came to save me. Now I'm asking you to save her too, the one who gave me this light. She wasn't a weapon, she was hope." The soldiers hesitated. Some looked at one another uncertainly. But the commander didn't waver. "Contain him!" The first line of soldiers fired. Energy blasts streaked through the air, only to vanish before touching him. The light around Eli expanded like a living shield. Lyra's voice whispered inside his mind. "Eli, show them." He raised his arms and the shield pulsed outward. The soldiers stumbled back as their weapons powered down. The earth began to hum, the sky flickered, and the valley filled with glowing energy. The aliens behind him gasped, their armor resonating with the same blue light. Eli's voice carried across the chaos. "You fear what you don't understand. But this light, it doesn't belong to one world. It belongs to all who protect, who care, who choose kindness over cruelty." The commander shouted, "Stand down. It's manipulating you." Eli shook his head. "No, it's showing me who we could be." He extended his hand toward the soldiers. "Come closer. See for yourselves." One soldier hesitated, lowering his rifle. He stepped forward cautiously, eyes wide. When he reached Eli, the light touched him, and instead of pain, warmth spread through his armor. His visor glowed blue. His breathing slowed. "Commander," he whispered, "it's not hostile. It feels alive." The other soldiers stared, uncertain. Eli took another step forward, his voice soft but powerful. "We don't need to fight. The light doesn't kill, it heals." The elder behind him raised his staff high, and the alien villagers joined in, their crystals glowing brighter, forming waves of energy that merged with Eli's. The sky lit up as beams of blue and white reached into the clouds, dissolving the smoke of battle. From the fleet above, the human commanders watched in disbelief. Their scanners went wild. Energy readings showed not radiation, not weapon signatures, but harmony. "Heartbeats syncing, frequencies stabilizing, sir," one operator stammered. "The human and alien vitals. They're merging. There's no aggression in the field, it's peaceful." On the surface, Eli stood surrounded by both armies, humans lowering weapons, aliens lowering spears. The light connected them all, running like veins through the air. Inside his mind, Lyra's voice grew faint but proud. "Eli, you did it," he smiled, tears glistening in his glowing eyes. "No, Lyra, we did it." The twin suns rose higher, their rays merging with the light from the valley. Slowly, the tension faded. Humans stepped closer to aliens, not as enemies, but as equals. The commander removed his helmet, staring at Eli with awe. What are you now?" Eli looked toward the horizon, where blue light spread far beyond the valley. "Not a weapon," he said softly. "Not human. Not alien, just light." He turned to the villagers, then back to the humans. "This world will remember today, not for war, but for understanding." Lyra's final whisper echoed through him, fading into peace. "Light live forever, in hearts that choose it." And as her voice disappeared, the sky shone brighter than it ever had before. The valley became a sanctuary, where once there had been fire and fear, now there was unity. The humans rebuilt beside the aliens, sharing knowledge, food, laughter. Children with mixed features ran across the glowing fields years later, carrying faint marks of light under their skin, a reminder of the girl who gave her power to a human, and the man who turned it into peace. Eli often stood at the same cliff where it had all begun, watching the sun set over the valley. The glow within him never faded. It pulsed quietly, a heartbeat of two worlds beating as one. He smiled softly, whispering to the wind, "She found the light in me, and I'll keep it burning." And somewhere beyond stars and time, Lyra's voice answered, soft, eternal, and full of warmth. "Always, Eli. Always."